Okay, so agentic workflows are the next wave. But how do we work with them? And why are they better than basic prompts? To convert real-world work into an agentic workflow, we need to determine our user's need. What is their primary question? And we need to map out the steps in a thought process that gives us a consistent answer. To make an agentic workflow, we have our app send an initial message to Claude. See that message on the top left. Claude receives it on the top right of the screen. In anticipation of Claude's response to that message, we automatically chain another successive message to Claude. We include the first message to Claude and its response with the second message. All of those messages together give Claude the context that it needs to guide its final response. This is powerful because building the message chain strategically allows us to lead Claude down a specific path of thinking. We're not asking Claude to solve our problem in one go. It won't be consistent. We're breaking our problem down into smaller decisions, and our first question to Claude asks it to make the first decision. This lets us define a strategic and pre-planned choreography of messages to Claude that give us a structured and predictable result. So, take a simple task like picking a hotel for vacation. We don't know the hotel when we start. What's the first step? Let's make an AI workflow. In our first approach, let's ask for 4 cities and then hotels in each city. I'm going to ask Claude on the left side for cities that have the vacation vibe I want. Then the auto-chain question I send after that comes back is going to be, Claude, now pick a hotel from each city. So looking at my code, I have a helper function called add user message that takes my first message to Claude, and another helper function called add assistant message that takes Claude's response. Both functions append either message to an array of messages called messages. The chat function sends our message array to Claude and receives responses. So in our actual operation down here, I add my first message to the messages array, which is I want to find a vacation destination with a mature, relaxed beach vibe. On the next line, I use the chat function to send the array with just my first message, send the messages array with just my first message to Claude, and set it to variable name initial answer. This generates Claude's response. I have another line of code that adds Claude's response to the same messages array via the assistant messages function. And now we have our messages array, which includes my initial message and the Claude response to that initial message. We're then going to chain our second message to the array and send it to Claude. So our second message now for each city, select a hotel, add user messages with the second message. After adding that, we've got all 3, our initial message, our initial response from Claude, and then our second message in our messages array. And we're going to send that to Claude to get our final answer. So let's run it. Great. So we've got 4 cities: Tulum, Mexico; Negril, Jamaica; Byron Bay, Australia; Sayulita, Mexico. And that was in response to our initial request for a mature, relaxed beach vibe. And then we have our automated second message, which was pinned to send as soon as we got these 4 back. For each city, select a hotel. So for Tulum, Mexico, I have the Azulik Resort, the address, the rate range. I have Rock House Hotel in Negril, Jamaica, the address, rate range, the Byron at Byron Resort and Spa, address and date range, and Hotel Paraiso in Sayulita. So these look good. But this is our prime opportunity to improve our workflow by identifying assumptions. We start by asking for a city, then a hotel. That assumes the whole city has the vacation vibe we want. And that's not necessarily true for any city, is it? Our AI workflow maps our thought process. So we need to identify assumptions in our thought process to improve our AI workflow. Every AI workflow we create is an opportunity to add steps that challenge the assumptions in our thinking. I'm going to say that again. Every AI workflow we create is an opportunity to add steps that challenge the assumptions in our thinking. So let's change our approach. Let's change our workflow to ask about cities where a particular neighborhood in the city has our vacation vibe, regardless of whether the city is known for that vibe itself. My previous approach did not make this distinction. So we're going to go back into our second Jupyter notebook, and we see that we updated our first message to Claude. We still are asking for a relaxed beach vibe with live music, 4 cities, but now we're saying for each city, it has to contain at least one specific neighborhood matching the target vibe. Ignore the macro reputation of the city itself. That's a key distinction. So now we're going to run this, wait for the response. Okay, so we have Coconut Grove in Miami, Florida. When we think of Miami, we usually don't think of a relaxed, mature beach vibe, right? But this particular place, Coconut Grove, has waterfront bars, acoustic and jazz, live music scene, mature crowd, far removed from South Beach. Ocean Beach, laid back and unpretentious, strong live music presence in local bars, older bohemian crowd. Gulfport in Tampa, Florida, and Kaimuki in Hawaii, Honolulu. Away from the resort strip, neighborhood bars with local Hawaiian music and guitar nights. So these are actually good options. I don't want to omit these, right? The city might not be known for the vibe, but the neighborhood is a great destination for my goals. How did I find these? I challenged my initial assumption, and then I changed my workflow to reflect the removal of that assumption. Now, let's see if there are more assumptions we can remedy to improve this workflow. So my current workflow assumes hotel price has to be in the target neighborhood. But what if staying further away saved money? With an AI workflow, I can pull in data to challenge my assumptions in real time. So, switch here. So think, what about cities that have a neighborhood with the vibe I want? We've already added that to our prompt. But then now we look at, is that neighborhood affordable along with flight cost? So we're going to send our cities to a flight scraper API and get flight prices back. And we're going to keep cities where the flight price is still under budget, remove cities where it's over budget. And then we send our neighborhoods to the Google Places API, get the neighborhood coordinates, and use those to find our hotels within 5, 10, 15, and 30 miles as a radius. And we return from the Google Business API all the hotel names and addresses within each of those different radiuses. Then we'll send those hotels to the Hotel Rate API and get the rates for each hotel. And then finally, we're going to do some math for each neighborhood, calculate the closest we can stay, and remain in a $1,000 budget, including our flight price and our hotel price. Okay, I start my workflow with something called a Claude tool, which is basically a contract to lock Claude into providing a formatted response. In this case, with city and neighborhood, these tools from Claude keep Claude consistent enough for enterprise applications. So this is where I define that particular tool, the tool that requires Claude to respond with items needed to pass to the Google Places API. Then my next tool, Get Neighborhood Coordinates, activates my code to call the Google Places API and retrieve latitude and longitude for each neighborhood. Then my next tool, after that, the third one, activates my code to call our flight price API. And my fourth tool passes my neighborhood coordinates to the business API to get hotels within each radius, 5, 10, 15, and 30 miles away from the neighborhood. So scrolling down, I can see, and there's quite a bit more code here than we had previously, but I can see where after my initial message, which has some support text around a variable that includes my actual prompt here, I have my force tool use for submit vibe cities, and then after that response, I have my force tool use for get neighborhood coordinates, and after that response, I have actually my first set of responses, right? So I decided to print out, and in this case, I upgraded it to 20 cities. Decided to print out the cities and then print out the latitude and longitude response, and we see that here. So we've got Funk Zone in Santa Barbara, Atlantic Avenue, and Delray Beach. And then for the Funk Zone, we have a latitude and longitude for Funk Zone, which was produced by the Google Places API. So that's all working perfectly. And then we're going to go down and we see our force tool use for get flight cost. And we will then see our force tool use for get hotels by radius. So finally, my agent uses all hotels returned to calculate how far I would have to stay from my vibe neighborhood in each city to get my flight and hotel within a budget of $1,000 for 3 days. So there's more code here, but let's go to the result that I ran previously so we wouldn't have to wait. And there are ways to tune this so that we get our responses faster, but just for the sake of presentation, I just produced this ahead of time so we wouldn't have to wait on it. But what we see here is for each neighborhood, we see neighborhood Funk Zone, Santa Barbara, assuming we're coming from New York. Flight cost is $419, remaining hotel budget is $581, and then based on the distance, the closest I can stay is 15 miles away and still have money left over, right? Staying close, virtually in the Funk Zone is $214 per night. This is the lowest hotel according, what I put in the code is to make sure that out of the 5 hotels that we get for each space, we get the lowest one here. So the lowest one is still over budget. The lowest one at 10 miles away is still over budget. And by the time we get to 15 miles away, I have a little bit of budget left. So realistically, I'm probably going to have to go 30 miles away to stay in budget or raise my budget, right? But our decision engine gave us exactly what we wanted to, which is the conclusion, the closest you can stay is 15 miles from the Funk Zone, at Funk Zone neighborhood at $186 a night. You've got $23 left in the budget. And what's our supporting information? We've got the Harbor View Inn. What is its nightly rate? What would its nightly rate be multiplied by 3? And that gives us, a pretty good indicator that we're over budget. And this is how much we're over budget. We also have the address so that we can verify independently that this is actually 5 miles away. We have the same thing for our 10-mile ring, 5 hotels, 0 fit in the budget. 15 miles away, there's actually only 1 hotel where we can, still stay in budget. And then 30 miles away, there's still only 1 hotel. So this may not be the strongest neighborhood to go to under my budget, but I would not know any of this if I did not create an AI decision engine or an AI workflow that helped me make this decision in a way that mirrors the thought process that I want to use. So going to Atlantic Avenue and Delray Beach, things look a lot better, right? I can stay closer and I still have $500 left. Actually, it doesn't seem to matter how close or far I stay, within 30 miles, I still have plenty of budget left, roughly about $500 left. So that's a great option. And then I have the supporting hotel information. And we keep going and going and going. Let's see, Corner Street, Folly Beach. Actually, if I stay within 10 miles, there's a hotel that lets me keep my budget, whereas if I go 15 miles, there's probably some other neighborhood that's a little bit more expensive. But you understand how this works. So you can see, based on the information that we have here, we can improve this workflow, we can change it. We could probably add another module that goes in and looks at Uber prices and determines whether or not staying in a particular neighborhood, or staying a certain distance away from our neighborhood that seems to fit in budget, would fit in budget, factoring in Uber prices, assuming 4 trips every day, one back, one there, one back, one to the neighborhood, one back. But we made this workflow to be a decision engine, and that's what AI workflows are designed to do. We can make automated workflows for revenue operations tasks, like giving customers tailored discounts based on their usage of a particular product. We can make workflows to mimic human resources tasks, like mapping resume meaning and skills to a job description and not just keywords. We can map AI workflows to product tasks, product management tasks, like generating feature ideas based on the target market's interest and engineering effort. We're going to walk through how I built more examples like this going forward, but hopefully this can give you an idea of what's required to build meaningful AI workflows.